What is up, everybody? I'm Ethan with Fight Me on This.
I'm Jill at Coach Jill.April.
And welcome back to the podcast. We are Shifting the Lens podcast, and we have a wicked guest with us. You want to introduce, sort of?
We have Erika. We've been internet friends for a minute. I'm going.
Y'all want me to introduce myself?
You got it. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, hey, everyone. My name is Erika Eileen. I'm a confidence coach. I specialize in business, body, and bedroom. I have been friends with Jill online for quite some time. We connected during the pandemic. She is from West Coast. I am from Toronto. But we share a lot of the same values and beliefs, and we have been friends since then. And now I have the honor of being friends with Ethan as well, as a byproduct of the relationship and my relationship with Jill as a friend. So yeah, I'm here and I'm excited to chat. And this is our second time recording because the first time they fucked up. But
you know what? The first time we learned a lesson about
recording with people at distance.
Yeah, and I love being a guinea pig. Like, I love letting people try first on me. So yeah.
Like, technically, Erika was like our first real guest. Like, Brian's a real dude.
Yeah, but Brian's here.
So it's like not a guest. It's like he's an addition to the show.
A pop in. Yeah. So no, I feel very honored to be the first.
Erika was our first guest. It didn't go through. We had to shoot another guest. Not like shoot.
Yeah.
And now we're back to Erika. So technically number 2, but 1 in our hearts. And
okay.
It's going to be a very, very long interview.
I literally am sitting here being like, this is going to be a long podcast with Ethan in the mood he's in today.
I don't know. I didn't sleep very well, but apparently once I start doing work in the morning, all my energy just like spikes after that. And I've just been talking shit as Santa Daddy on Instagram all morning.
That's so hot. Well, the good thing is that since our last time we've recorded, I have not only chopped off my tits, but I've also started a guest speaking program, and I'm learning how to actually like wrap up my thoughts faster than not. So I will also be contributing to the podcast recording, not being 2 hours this time. Yeah.
Big improvements. Yeah. We start with hards and joys as always every episode. Erika, you want to go first with a hard from your week, month? Don't go year. There's way too many.
Mm-hmm. Way too much. We'd be here for 3 days straight. Okay, my hard for this week was that I got an infection in my incision after like a month of getting surgery. So I thought I was in the clear and then went to hot yoga. And I was like, oh, it's itching. It must be healing. Like, slay, go me. My body loves me. And then I got home and I had this like pus coming out of my fucking tit. And I was like, that's why you're itching. So that was not fun whatsoever. But shifting the mic to you guys.
Yeah, tough.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about tit infections. Yeah, like we don't need to spend tons of time talking about tit infections.
I want to, but like it's just ow. You're hard. No, you didn't. Even though 15 minutes. You know what?
Go ahead.
My hard this week, this day, it comes from content creation. One of the hardest things, the hardest thing about sharing your story is sharing it. Is saying the thing. You know, once you've said it, it's fine. But when people see the finished product, it's not what was said. It's been edited. It's been chopped down. We like I talk for 15 minutes, and I got to cut that into an 8-minute video or a 7-minute video or a 5-minute. And the hard is knowing what the people want. The hard is knowing what needs to be heard. The hard is trusting that it's going to find the person needs you. You do it anyways. It does. It always never fucking fails as long as you share it. It gets where it needs to go. But when you're talking something from a very personal level and a place inside you that you try not to go very often, you know, a place it's not that, like, sharing those moments is not, for me, not scary to put it out there. I'm out there. I give a fuck. What is actually scary is if it's going to set somebody off in the wrong way. Is it going to have its desired effect? Is somebody going to see it and have it trigger the darkest part of them? Because that's kind of my job. I want people to see themselves in me, in my story. But the other side of that is always, is it going to have the desired effect?
Yeah, and like impact over intention.
Yeah, when you talk trauma and suicide and living with this thing that won't go away, like there's hope and beauty in that for me because I've learned how to see it. But I know when you're in it, it's just another piece of it. And that it will always be hard when I'm cutting a video that says, at what point did I become attractive to my parents? That sentence is such a factual statement in my life, but when I say it to people, it has that effect. Their brain goes, do math real quick. Relationship, parent, those two things aren't supposed to be there. That's gross. That's wrong. Wait, he dated a parent. Why did he date it? But what happened? Like, it starts the thing. But that's why I say it that way, because that's what it was. It was 10 years of my life. The horror of my reality is the hardest part about what I share, because I know what it looks like.
Mm.
So that's my hard this week is as much as I love sharing to you guys and doing this thing, and I will never stop. The hardest part is exactly what I do in this world.
Yeah, and we talk about that all the time of like people want to know until they know. And then once they know, they're like, oh my God, I didn't want to know that. And it's like, you either want to know or you don't.
Yeah.
You don't really get to live in the gray area of
That's
like,
a great
tell
point.
me enough so I understand, but don't like hurt my feelings.
We talked about this. You bleed for knowledge. If you're talking about growth, you bleed for it.
Mm-hmm.
My mission is so that other people don't have to bleed as heavily as I did. The same way Jesse did that for me. Like, he saved me from a lot of hard lessons. I took a bunch because I'm stubborn. But like, there's 7 billion people on this planet, and the internet reaches the whole corner. Who's going to react poorly? Who's going to react in the way it's intended?
Yeah, and I think when you share something that's like really important to you and really personal and also very vulnerable, there's a difference of sharing it with someone that's like sitting in front of you that you've like essentially consented to sharing with or like consented to be in a space with versus like I find when I throw something out into the internet, like there is that anxiety that like you're throwing it to people that aren't consenting to being there or also aren't like they're not consenting to you, you're not consenting to them at the same time. And so it's like that whole like I just pray to fucking, I don't believe in God, but like I pray to fucking every God in the world that it reaches the right people. But yeah, sometimes it doesn't. And that can be also really hard. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, it stops me from sharing sometimes. Like I've
Yeah.
got videos that I've never seen after I
Yeah.
shot them because I couldn't make peace with, is this what was supposed to be said?
Yeah.
And I rest, the only peace I have is I rest in that it wasn't. That I
Yeah.
was right.
And there'll be
I
spots.
said it, but it was for me. I
Yeah.
said 12 minutes of fucking, I needed to say it, but it actually wasn't for the world. That was actually just for me.
Yeah.
So I've got thousands of those videos that I'll never see public.
I do that exercise with my clients actually. So just so you know, like from someone who helps people for 5 years in business, that's actually like a legit thing that I suggest people to do. So you're doing great, buddy. Thumbs up. Gold star.
Sweet.
My heart is Erika and I talked about it before we started recording. My body forever has done this fun thing with birth control that after like 4 years, it's just like, we're good. We don't need to listen to it, whether it's hormonal or not. And that's like the timeline I'm in currently with my copper IUD. Would I live life with nothing? Yes. Do I want a child? No. So sometimes you gotta
has one that leaves currently. Is quite happy with that.
Yeah. You gotta pick your battles. And there's other ways to sort it out, but it's just like always it's nice until it's not. Like the first 3 years when I find a birth control that works, I'm like, oh, life is good. We don't really have any symptoms, don't really have any cramps, don't have any pain, I'm not tired. And then the last year hits and I'm like, I'm dead. So I feel like every month it's gotten like slightly worse. So it's just like that frustration of being a female and having another thing to deal with and like that exhaustion that comes with like, great, now I got to figure out another thing with my body again. Yeah. What's your joy?
My joy is that I got booked twice this week for speaking gigs in the fall of 2025, which is the first time in a really long time that I've even been booked for that far in advance. And it is very intentionally connected to my availability and capacity to go back into my business after 2 years of burnout. So it is like the biggest joy ever.
That's exciting. That's
wicked.
Yeah, really wicked. I'm actually speaking at a sex summit. Y'all might want to fly in for it. Mm-hmm.
Get your intimacy certification so we can business expense it.
Yeah.
Ready to go. My joy is similar. I have just been like in a good groove with signing new clients lately, and that feels nice to have some new people in rotation and just like have some people set up into the new year. And I've been selling the workout club more because that felt like the easier, like lower cost group coaching, more affordable for people, but they've actually all been one-on-one clients, so that feels nice to be like,
yay, Jill!
Oh, in the time where I was like, we'll go this way instead, people are like, no, we still need this, so that always feels nice too.
That's really exciting. That's like such a relief too. Yeah. Ethan?
Modeling, I guess, to come up with one randomly. Like, it's been a lot of fun the last little bit. The 12 hours of triple Xmas shoot was a lot of fun. And like seeing some of the, like, I started a model page and post all the shit on there now and trying to really lean into whatever the fuck it means to use my body the way that I do. And so far, like, this is where the intimacy coach comes in. Like, it's obviously been a part of what I do for a little bit, especially as a professional dominant and educator that way. But to now get to focus on the space that I hold as a model. As I worked with 6 different models in that 12 hours, I held space for all 6 different models in different and varying degrees of intimacy with different and varying degrees of clothing and closeness and touch and all of the shit. And I did it 12 straight hours. Is like the 3rd time I've done one of these. And the new photographers that were there came in and said, like, you need to make money doing what you do. It's not because you're like, you look great in pictures, but this is not normal. I've never seen a dude walk into a place and have that kind of control in every set. Okay. Thanks for that what do I do with that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, and what do I do with that?
What? And then a quick podcast interview with my mentor. I haven't seen it, sat down and chat with him, and it's apparently specifically what an intimacy coach and coordinator does on television sets.
That's what I was gonna say.
I have to get that certification so he can hire me to be the intimacy coordinator on his shows. So it went from just like educating people to be cool in a relationship to I'm just gonna take intimacy as a whole and share it with the world because y'all be fucking it up.
It's also fun when like those pieces come together so seamlessly. Like you borrow one person's brain and they're like, "Oh, this is what you need to do, easy peasy," and you're like, "Great, thanks for solving that problem."
Yeah, that's where my brain went.
No pushback, no nothing. My brain's just like, yeah, that I've been waiting. Like I need something. We talked about this in our first one. Like I'm going 1,000,000 miles, but they're all like that
in different directions.
I want like. They all like they're north, but they're this big. Like, how do they all funnel to one thing? And then intimacy coordinator, like not an intimacy coach, like you and I talked about. Like, yeah, we can do that interrelational shit, but like I want to peel it back deeper because I do this whether I'm a model or not. This is how I interact with people.
Yeah, I follow a girl on TikTok who does intimacy coordination on movie sites as well, like helping like all the actors like navigate like their comfort and like what they're like good with and like the prosthetics and how to like move and navigate through it in safety and stuff. And she's like one of my favorite follows just because like it's so far from where we've been, where it's just like, hey, make out. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm an actor, so I have to. And it's like, no, you actually don't have to. Like, there's ways that you can like fake making out. Or there's ways to like build the intimacy. Like, it's really cool and it sounds really safe. So yeah, it sounds like a really good option for you. That's what I was going to suggest too. As soon as you said that, I'm like, you should be on movie sets and TV sets. Yeah.
It's always cool when somebody's like, yeah, no, there's an actual job for that. Like sometimes you don't realize it.
Yeah.
And they're on a lot of porn. They're on a lot of porn sets as well, like helping like a lot of the people now instead of it just being like, well, go fuck and we'll record. Like it sounds like it's kind of moving in the right direction. So
yeah, and it's exciting to be confirmed. Like you and I know, like we've been talking when we had our business meeting. It's this thing's here, but what is it? It's all going that way. Fuck. So now to have it's exciting as shit to have some actual direction. That's TISM 101. Like I like this, but at some point I need a little bit of that. I need to go one way for a minute.
Yeah, like narrowing your thoughts and your actions and stuff.
Narrowing your thoughts. I still get to model. I still get to do this and this and this, but now they're focused on a goal, which is exciting as shit.
That's really exciting.
Jill, what's our question?
We're doing a lot today, so I'm just trying to. Brian leaving. I'm trying to filter your energy because we're fine. I've obviously followed you for a minute, Erika. When you started, you were sex and confidence. Correct me if I'm wrong. And now we do like all the things. When you look at like your journey with confidence, and you're going more business now and speaking and more like, I don't want to say professional, but you said it yourself, of more like refined and curated and things like that. Tell us about your journey with like confidence for yourself, how you came into the work you do now, and like where you're headed.
Yeah. So my confidence journey started when I was younger, when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is like a really hard thing to be diagnosed with as a child because you can't really make out like what it means to be chronically ill. You also don't like know how to process information in the world and how it relates to you. And so it really caused a lot of like discombobulated thoughts that I had, not only about myself, but about the world as well. And so I kind of grew up with this belief that like I wasn't capable and my body wasn't capable, and that translated to me not being capable. And then on the side of that, I was also very bubbly. I was very outgoing, undiagnosed ADHD at the time, but I didn't know that. And just like very hyper. And so I had this like full belief kind of going into my teens that everything was just too much, that I wasn't capable. Like it was just it felt like really broken. Like I was like, my brain's broken, my body's broken. I'm trying to hold it together and be like everyone else, but I don't feel like I can. And when I was in like my middle age of like high school, I really developed a lot of like eating disorders through my diabetes and just like utilizing spaces and things that I didn't really at the time, like now, but at the time I didn't really need to, in order to just gain some type of control or understanding of like what my body was doing and having a say in what was happening. I didn't realize that until I was 19 and 20 when I started to be like, okay, wait, like I actually don't have to live in this body that feels disconnected to myself, and I don't have to be so afraid of things like sex, and I don't have to be so afraid of my of literally my body and it not being able to withhold itself. And it took a while for me to like actually understand that just because I was bubbly, outgoing, I was doing all the things, I was a high achiever, that it didn't actually mean that I had confidence. I just was an outgoing individual. And it was really tricky because a lot of people really side pushed a lot of my insecurities because of that. Like they were like, you shy, get out there. Like almost like forced to do things because they're like, nope, you're just like being silly. And it was like, no, I actually like really had a hard time allowing myself to believe that I deserve to be a top skier and be a top dancer and be like in student council and all of those things. And when I was in university, I took a course. I was studying physical and health education, and I had to take a course for an elective called gender equality and social justice. And as a privileged white woman, I kind of like knew, because I like traveled a lot when I was younger. So I like knew that like there were poor people and like there was like countries that weren't as rich as others, and like all of those like quote unquote like white savior mentalities around the world. And I knew like to be nice to everyone, but I didn't actually understand like microaggressions. I didn't understand stereotypes. I didn't understand preconceived notions and things like that. And so in that program, I actually had like a huge, it felt like a meltdown and a breakdown. And I actually developed really bad depression and anxiety because I realized that the world that I was growing up in was not actually the world that I was existing in. And I had to like make peace with a lot of the pieces of my story that weren't true or that had missing pieces to it. And it was in that class that I learned about things like fat phobia and like actually knowing what it means to like not like yourself, like where those thoughts come from. Because from before it was like, oh, my mom eats almonds, like my mom's an almond mom. And like, and we're supposed to be rich. Like, okay, that's why I don't feel good because I don't have those things. When in reality, it was like, oh no, like my hatred for my body is rooted in like racism and anti-blackness. And oh, like my desire to be rich is like classist. And it's also like in colonialism and capitalism and all of these things. And that was really the switch that helped my confidence journey start. But it took a really long time for me to understand the theory versus like actually practicing it. And I think it's always going to be a practice, especially as a white woman. Like I will always have blind spots, even if I literally dedicate my whole life to learning. There's a difference between learning and experiencing. And that kind of like started my journey. And then, yeah, I went to Australia after I had 2 degrees. I had no one hiring me. So I went to Australia, and that's when I like really kind of came into my confidence. I was sharing about my journey with actually learning to understand what it was like to build a relationship with my diabetes, because for so long I just fucking hated it and I was really suicidal about it. And in that journey, I started building like an online platform, and people were like, oh, like this bitch actually like is saying the things that people don't want to say, but kind of think. And it just kind of turned into everything else. I came back, I still couldn't get a job. I worked at a preschool as a teacher, and I was still sharing about my stuff. And my preschool teacher was like, hey, you got to stop like being online if you're going to be a preschool teacher, which I fucking hate. Like there was nothing that I was doing wrong. I was just literally showing that I loved my body and was trying to teach that to kids as well. So I ended up quitting cold turkey. I started as a confidence coach. By then I had a huge platform as well. So it was just really like, I really like had set myself up without even knowing that I'd set myself up really well. And yeah, my business started. I started doing like confidence coaching specifically. And then I started like sharing that I had done all these classes in my gender equality minor around sexuality. So I was studying things like women in porn, body image. I studied like the history of AIDS in Africa, all of these things. So I had like a huge bunch of knowledge, but I didn't tell anyone because shame. And yeah, I just started sharing that I like had these experiences. I was supporting people with like buying their first vibrator, and they were like, okay, but these are like real life things that people struggle with. And when I dug into my own sexual shame throughout my journey of like building my confidence, because building a business is your number one route to confidence. Like it will break you, but it will also make you. And that's kind of how I got into sex coaching. I just started sharing like the real realities of like, I don't know what these things are. I bought my first vibrator at 24. I was like so proud to be a virgin until 20. And then like just like all of these weird mentalities that we have around sex, I just started sharing about them and telling people like where they come from and how to kind of face the shame. And yeah, my business took off and now I'm here. Now I help people with their businesses as well because I'm creative as fuck and I've been doing it for 5 years and I've been through the ringer with my business, especially being online. And yeah, that's how I got here.
Yeah.
Wicked.
You got taken down, like gone from IG
Bitch.
at some point, right?
Some point, 9 points.
I was
2019,
like,
I was like 19,000 followers got banned in 2019.
That was the one.
15,000 followers got banned in 2020. 7,000 followers got banned in 2022. Like last year, March of last year was the last time that I got banned, and I was like, hey, I'm done. So unfortunately, like I don't speak as much on my sex coaching online, and it's literally a trauma response from just having my resources ripped from me so many times that I mentally can't handle it. But yeah, I'm still here. I still do everything. But it is in a more like kind of, and I say the word professional because I am leaning into trying to break into the professional spaces of sex and sexuality. So showing people that like, that are in like corporate or that are in like university institutions, like people are having sex. People are struggling with their confidence. People are struggling with their self-worth. And whether you want to recognize it or not, it actually comes into your corporations. It comes into your institutions and your businesses. So yeah, my new and inspired route is taking the way of like, how do we teach people the importance of talking about sex and normalizing it and normalizing the fact that like, yeah, low self-worth is going to affect the way that people perform in their careers, in their relationships, and everything is co-connected. So why are we ignoring it? Because everyone's like putting band-aids on all these problems in the world. And I'm like, literally, if you just liked yourself or if you like allowed your staff to like themselves, then they might actually want to perform for you, or they might actually enjoy being here, which is going to benefit you. It's going to benefit them. Like, wow, what a crazy concept. So yeah, my like route right now that I'm trying to take into is like, how do I start talking about sex with like CEOs? Because they're the majority of my clients. Like the fucking people that sit on my calls and they're like, oh yeah, I work at Bloomberg. I work at like this university. I do all of these things. And then they're like, but I can't talk about sex, or I can't like show that I'm vulnerable. And I'm like, I want to change that. So now I'm going for the big guys.
It's always been like, even like small to large scale, a pet peeve of mine that it's this like hush hush, don't talk about it, nobody can know conversation. And I'm like, guys, we're all doing it. Why don't we just talk about it?
We're all doing it, and we all get here some way. And like, we're all like, everyone has sex. Like, even the people that you don't want to think about right now when you're listening to this, like they're fucking, and they might be fucking way more wild than you ever want to imagine. Like, it's happening. So yeah, let's talk about it. And also like, let's normalize it, because outside of it being for enjoyment, it's also for safety.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think that's a big piece for us always over here is like, first of all, the more you talk about it, the better it's probably going to go for you. And also the safer it is. Like, that's a big conversation here, especially with like our dom sub dynamic of like, people don't know the unhealthy side of it because we don't talk about it. So whatever you experience we think is normal and cool and chill, and then you tell it to somebody like Ethan and I that live that dynamic very safely, and we're like, no, that's not how that was supposed to go for you. But like, we weren't allowed to talk about it, so you didn't know.
yeah, and it builds so much shame, and then it also builds so much trauma, and it builds so much distress, especially like within each other. Like, a lot of my coaching really focuses on helping specifically like women, non-binary folks, just like actually like feel like they can trust themselves again with something like pleasure and with something with intimacy, because it's so deeply connected. Well, I mean, I speak on myself as a woman and as someone who presents as that, but yeah, it's like so deeply connected to so many parts of us, and the less we talk about it, the more troubles it causes. And we deserve to talk about it, just like how a lot of cis men talk about it in the fucking locker rooms, and they are allowed to talk about how hard they thrust and how big their cock is, but we're not allowed to talk about how to pleasure the clitoris versus internal penetration. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No. So yeah.
What?
I thought you were
It's fun because I can see you look at me from behind my head and like, what did I do? What face did I make? I don't have shit to say. I'm good. I'm behaving. Fuck.
You are behaving.
What was your question you were gonna ask, really?
I don't remember.
Oh, we've had some changes happen since with.
Oh, yeah. So, like the first time we tried this before technology failed, there were some very, very large things causing grief, stress, strain,
discomfort,
things that
My
didn't
tits were
need to be
fucking
doing
huge
that.
and they were getting in
That.
the way.
Like listen, that.
Yeah,
This
I
my
had
story.
massive tits, y'all. Like big, massive knockers, mommy
Like
milkers. Like every man
like
I dated ever
okay, so
wanted to be
here's I'm just gonna
milked.
interject because those of you that don't know Erica, you're seeing the after, and it's like still great. Like I don't know if you will, you're gonna go look, but there's gonna be pictures, and she is as thick on the bottom as she is on the top.
Yeah.
She was, and it was like it's a very when like, there's one right there too. There's a good like they're very
Yeah,
much
Jill and I have very similar, like Jill and I, if you put us beside each other, even with the tattoos and like the hair and the face, like we are one of the same.
they're but like that's the point. So like
Yeah.
Erica, to share your story, share your experience, and genuinely though, like now to bring it back to real, like why did you make that decision? What was it for you that brought you to the point of a breast reduction? If you'd share with our listeners, please.
Yeah, the cool thing about allowing yourself to be confident in your sexuality and within your body is that you can be real with yourself and you can be honest with yourself without it being from a place of hatred or from a place of like approval of others. And I kind of always grew up with smaller boobs. Like I was like a C cup, like they were very proportionate. Over the pandemic, though, I went through a lot of like traumatizing events. My parents disowned me when I started talking about sex online, and I went through a huge breakup. I left my city and then, like, literally moved into a brand new city that I'd never been to. And all of a sudden, a week later, we went into lockdown. So, when that happened, my business took off, which was amazing. But as a byproduct, like, I was just trying to find my footing, and I found it in a lot of addicting things like food, alcohol, drugs, shopping, not moving, not doing the things that I actually needed. And I also went on birth control because I was having a lot of sex with a lot of people. It was a lot for me because it was a search for validation and it was a search for a void, and filling that like singleness and also not having parental support and having guidance through a really difficult time. And so through all of that, through the food, through the hormone changes, through working 24/7, high stress, all of these things, I had put on weight, which is actually fine. And I actually liked myself better when I wasn't like I liked my fucking, like I had a fat fucking ass and I loved it, like insane. But with that, my breasts grew. And in 2022, I was having a shower. I was actually filming for OnlyFans because I was doing OnlyFans content. And I like touched my breast and I felt this huge lump and I like fainted. Like I've gotten rid of the video because it's really traumatizing to watch, but like you can literally see me trying to be the hottest piece of shit. And then it just is like, bam, like right down on the ground. And so I went to the hospital the next day and they essentially were like, oh, it's cancer. No, it's not. It's cancer. No, it's not, for like a pretty long time. And I had a really great relationship to my body and to my sexuality. And both of those points are very important for the next part of my story. But it instantly made me disconnected. I instantly saw my breasts as something awful. I instantly saw them as like sacks of trauma and like this hate. And eventually they ended up saying that it wasn't cancer. But that in and itself of being like diagnosed, not diagnosed, was like really traumatizing. And I took courses. I took like breast massage courses. I did like online, like how to reconnect. I did all of the things. And you have to also understand too, at this time, I am a sex coach myself. So the fraudulent feelings that I had of like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be this person that teaches people how to feel sensations within their body. And like, I can't even look at my boobs or touch my boobs without crying. It was a really tough time. And so I finally went to a naturopath in 2023. And I was like, listen, like, they say I have this condition potentially, which is caused by like hormones in my insulin from my type 1 diabetes. And so he was like, listen, like, why don't you try to lose weight? And again, I am not someone that cares to lose weight, nor did I hate myself. So try to lose weight when you actually fucking think you're the hottest piece of shit. Like what that, like, I was like, yeah, but he was like, try to lose 50 pounds. If your boobs are still big, then we'll talk about like what to do from there. But I actually think that the weight that you're carrying is causing you to take more insulin. And I think you have a condition that makes your insulin turn to estrogen. And then your estrogen buildup will always build up as lumps in your breasts. Don't quote me on the science of that because I have learned a lot about breast tissues and the body. But essentially the increase in estrogen can make your tissues like lumpy. And so, yeah, I started on this like really weird weight loss journey of like, I love myself, but now I have to like what the fuck? Like, I like it's so easy. Like, let me tell you, bitch, it's easy to lose weight. Like, I've lost weight when I hated myself, and it was like 60 pounds gone in a year. Boom, gone, easy. Trying to lose weight when you're like, I love myself, I have worth, whether I'm 230 pounds or 280, like 180, like that's fucked. So I went on that
Thank you
journey.
for saying that. Holy
Oh, no, no,
shit.
no. I have a whole, because my podcast
Thank you
coming.
for
No, no, no. No,
saying
no,
that.
no. I will tell you, I am bringing
Fuck.
back my podcast simply so that I can talk about this experience, because I
Please,
actually
because
can't.
like,
No, no, no. I
holy
love
shit.
myself way more at 230 than I do right
Uh,
now at 180. And it was because I was making choices for myself that felt that they were rooted in pleasure and fun and joy. Like I would eat, and I would eat whatever I wanted. And it was like so nice. So yeah, it was like a journey to get there. Eventually, after a year, I had lost 35 pounds and my tits were getting bigger. And I was like, okay, like that is a problem for me, because the first thing that they said was like, well, breasts are the first thing to go. And we see that a lot with like people that birth, like the second they birth and they start to breastfeed, like their tits are dried up, like they are little itty bitty things. And it works. Or if people lose weight, the first thing that goes is their tits. So I was like, perfect, I'll lose some weight. I won't have to get this reduction. Maybe the lumps will stop growing, whatever. And it didn't. So eventually in January of this year, so I don't know when this will be let out, but yeah, January 2024, I went to my family doctor and I was like, I have this huge, massive lump. It's growing. And I kept going in for tests at the hospital. And they're like, oh, it's another 2 centimeters bigger. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sakes, like, give me a break. Like at this point, like my back's sore. I'm not sleeping, like my neck, everything. And I'm like losing weight. And I'm like, I want to run. I want to do all this shit. And I literally couldn't. And then I finally just like put in a request, and I had all the signs. So when you're like looking, if you are someone with big breasts, and you're looking to get help with OHIP, they look for indents in your neck. So if your bra is so tight and so heavy that it indents your back, that it indents, or sorry, your shoulders and your back as well. And they also feel down your spine. And I guess there's like 3 vertebrae that they look for. And if it's like heavy or if it's inflamed, then it's like a sign that you can essentially get one. So yeah, I kept going on my journey this year, just like trying to lose weight, trying to get fit more so. Like I was really like, I want to be able to like run, and I need to have like endurance, and I just want to get my body prepped for whenever I do go into this appointment. Like if I want to be ready, and I want my body to be in its best shape, because surgery is very serious and people don't talk about that enough with body changes, right? Like I think also maybe Jill, you might notice this in your industry too, where it's like, I'm just going to get my boobs done. And it's like, you do realize you're like, anesthesia is serious. Like if you have an allergic reaction, like it's very serious. Like you cannot wake up. You can also like have serious complications. And so I knew that. And so the idea of getting a breast reduction was partially because of the health, because I was growing this lump. It was getting bigger. My boobs were getting massive. Then I was sore. Like I had all these things, but also partially because of how I was feeling about my breast, like those breasts. And those breasts represented a lot of trauma for me. And they represented a lot of decisions that I wasn't really happy with now, looking back, that I'm in a healed position. And I just allowed myself to be like, I have such a beautiful connection to my sexuality. I have a beautiful connection to my body. And I also, at the same time that I love myself and didn't want to change, like I also deserve to change. And I also deserve to have this lifted from me if it's something that can happen. And I went to my consult in August, and I told my story to the surgeon, who was like an 84-year-old woman. Her knuckles were bigger than any massage therapist I've ever seen. She's like the strictest thing. People talk shit about her on the internet, but she was my top 3 for that reason. And she was like, listen, I had a cancellation in November. If you don't take it, you're going to have to wait till March 2025. And I didn't have the funds. So she was like, listen, because of the way that your breasts are, they're so heavy. And she's like, Erika, I've seen people with like massive tits, like massive breasts that don't weigh as much as yours. And she's like, something in your tissues are like, they're really ropey. Like she's like, you can feel like how heavy they are. And she's like, you need to take this emotionally and physically. Like you need to take this opportunity. I also was like, okay, it's going to be free. And then she's like, the reduction's free. But she's like, if you get a reduction though, what's going to happen is I will take the fat out and you will be left with sock-like boobs because they become tubular. So breasts will grow in 2 sizes. Fun fact. Ethan, you might love this as well. Just now Ethan won't be able to look at a breast after this ever the same. So breasts grow in 2 shapes. They grow down. No, but they grow in 2 shapes. So they either grow down and tubular, or they grow big and round. And the big and round are really loose tissues. There's just like, they're really light, but the tubular ones, which grow down, are more so like the heavy tissues. And heavy tissues are actually a precursor for breast cancer and all of these things. So she's like, you need to get these things out for like 9 reasons. I didn't have money. because she was like, well, you also need to get, she's like, you should get a lift because if not, you're going to have like these sock looking boobs with like a golf ball at the end because your nipples are heavier skin. So it will just hang. And she's like, and I'm going to tell you right now, like if you thought you had a disconnect to your tits then, you are not going to like the results. And I was like, okay. And then I battled with this belief of like, well, my worth isn't in my body and my worth isn't in what I look like. And also too, I'm fucking 31. I'm hot shit. I want to fucking feel like the hot shit that I am. And I had to really fight my own, like, I really had to confront my values and my morals and beliefs around like whether I wanted to do it or not. But I ended up asking my parents for money. I said, look, y'all caused me some serious trauma here. Like, I need help with this because it was about $6,000 or so out of pocket for the lift part. And I also ended up getting liposuction just to remove the fatty tissue. So I didn't have a risk of lymphedema. Is that the cancer? Lymphoma in my armpits as well. Anyways, yeah, last time we recorded, I think I was 2 days before my breast reduction. It was all I could think about. Now I'm out of it. It has been one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. I have the most insane body dysmorphia. I have the most insane emotions and anxiety in my body. I am so uncertain. I don't know what's normal, what's not. Sometimes something hurts or burns or zaps, and I don't know what to trust and what not. But it is still, even after all of that, the best thing I've ever done for myself because I literally got out of the surgery and I was fucked up. And even still, I was sitting there drugged out of my mind. And I was like, I've never felt, I felt the relief instant. Like the first thing I thought of when I woke up was I was like, oh my God, like I didn't feel this like weight pulling me down, both emotionally and physically. And it's been a really emotional journey. Like last week, I spent the whole week sobbing and I had no idea why. And then after deep research, it was because I didn't realize that my nerves, when they like go into your shit, like your nerves disconnect. So it takes like 3 weeks for your nerves to start like firing up. So I was like, what is going on? Like, I feel so awful. And then like on the Instagram and on Reddit, they were like, yeah, that's your nerves coming back to life. And I was like, okay, I get it now. But I spent the whole week sobbing because I was like, half of my boobs are so sensitive that literally if someone were to even like blow on them, I'd probably have nipples like pointing out to the fucking ceiling. And the other half I can't feel. So yeah, it was a really great experience. And I've never been happier. I feel so much better. I feel like myself almost. And I just feel like I can kind of move forward. And I really struggled because I didn't know anyone that had gotten a breast reduction before. And I also really struggled too because I was like, well, what if I hate them? Because that's a fucking reality. Like, I've never seen this surgeon's work in my life. I literally said to her, I'm like, oh, do you have a website or like an Instagram? And like this older woman, dead ass, moved her glasses and was like, I've been in business for 35 years. That's my resume. Like, take it or leave it. And I was like, you know what, bitch? Yeah. Fuck yeah. Hell yeah. But I was more so worried about the weight of them and the actual like health part than the looks. But my tits look like Barbie. And that's just like a side effect of everything. But I've never been happier. And it was a really great lesson to remind myself that if you, just because you have beliefs and values as a whole, like there are expectations and there are like exemptions. And if something feels right for you and if something feels an integrity to you and you're doing it for the right reasons, and like that's also okay. Because I really struggled with the whole like, what does this mean about my sexuality? What does this mean about my belief around bodies and all of that? But I'm so glad I let myself push that to the side and put myself in a position where I was safe both physically and emotionally to do this. And now I'm like, I want to, like, I am so fucking celibate that it's not even like, I can't even think about dating. But when I got out after a week, because they go hard, I was like, I need to ride. I just want to ride once. I need to see these things not move, because when I was riding, like, it was like pain and I couldn't enjoy it. And I was like, these things are rock hard on me right now. It's just full of fucking swelling and black bruises. And I was like, I just want to ride. Like, I just want to feel like what it means to ride without a fucking like genuine like weight hanging me down. So yeah, if anyone's listening,
times I have to like hold on to my titties when they're moving, I'm just like, hold on, I'm gonna fix this problem for me.
No, literally, like they would always be like, no hands. I'm like, babe, that's not an option. Like my hands have 2 whole sacks of shit that I've got to hold on to if you really want to enjoy this. Now I'm like, no, I want to like put my hands in the air and wave them like I just don't care. And like I'm like, that is the only thing that I've ever like.
My tism brain just sees Erika just.
No, literally, I literally want to like Vega boys, like
Just
the Venga boys are coming.
Woo
Yeah,
girly.
woo girl on. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, it was a really beautiful experience, and I'm actually really glad that we recorded this afterwards and are like releasing it after, because I so badly wish someone gave me permission. And it sounds fucking crazy, especially as a confidence coach. I wish someone was able to be like, you deserve this, and like you deserve to treat your body in the way that you want and that you need. And I believe that in like if we want to talk about sex, like I tell my clients, like if you like your left ear being twisted while you're getting fucked, and that was like what makes you over the edge, then fucking do that. Like twist it yourself or get someone to twist it for you. Like there's no right or wrong. And I do it in the same with the body. It's like if you want to be a size, like if you don't want to lose weight, like don't fucking lose weight. Like rock your fucking shit and rock it well. And like that's where your confidence comes from. And I so badly needed someone to be like, you can love yourself, you can appreciate yourself, you can think that you're the hottest shit. And if something's causing you emotional or physical pain, you also deserve to do something about that as well. And that doesn't mean that you now all of a sudden think that big boobs are the worst thing in the world. And I really needed that permission.
Like, this conversation brings up a lot for me too, because like I've said for years that I don't like my titties, and like part of that comes from the insecurity of like being the only one in my friend group in junior high and high school.
Oh god, yeah, like you're like, I'm a double D and all my friends are literally wearing Fruit of the Loom training bras right now. The fuck? Yeah.
They're like, we're changing for basketball, and I'm like, great, I have like the highest impact sports bra you could possibly create, and you guys are like, I could see through your sports bra. That's fine. But it also comes from like the inconvenience of them, like the amount of times even something as little as like taking a video of me doing double unders in the gym skipping, and I'm like, well, I can't post that because it's either like my butt jiggling or my titties, and like there's no good angle, so the videos never go anywhere. Or like when I do start my period, like the amount of times I tell Ethan, like I'm like, they're just so heavy, like there's so many moments where I'm just like, I care less about the looks and more about just like the inconvenience of like, can you just let me live without having to deal with these things attached to me all the time?
Yeah. And like the heaviness was so crazy because like even when I went back the next day, like the surgeon was like, I removed 6 pounds of tit. And I was like, damn, like that's because she's like that's like a lot, because if you picture like putting 2-3 pound weights around like on a string and then putting it around your neck and carrying them, like at first you'd be like, okay, that's nothing, but like after a couple hours you'd be like, the fuck is this shit, like it hurts. And she was like, I usually pull out 6 pounds out of like someone with an M size, and she's like, for 6 pounds to come out of your 1E and your 1 double D is like so crazy. Like my tissues were so heavy. And yeah, like it is a really big inconvenience. And I also think too, like when we talk about like sex and confidence and just like body, like feeling good in your body, there is that level of like, it's one thing to feel good, to look good. Like if you look at big tits, it's like, yeah, like they're hot, like they're fun, like they're, you know, they're literally sacks of fun, but they also hurt and they don't feel good to carry around. And that is also going to build a disconnect between yourself, between your sexuality. Like it's going to affect other parts of your life. And so it's a very real thing that a lot of people struggle with, that like not many people talk about until after you talk about it. And then everyone's like, I got a breast reduction. And you're like, why are we not talking about this? Yeah. It was a really beautiful experience.
The like confidence side of it, of like anytime I say that I don't really like my titties, Ethan's like, I love them. I'm like,
that's fine.
Great.
And I'm like,
like they're attached.
And I loved my big ones. Trust me, my big ones in
for
photos.
The record, I don't say it for my own pleasure. I'm not a tits guy, for the record. Like, no.
Oh, shocker!
Say this one specifically.
Shocker! You're not a tits guy.
Because I'm not a tits guy.
Shocker! No one's shocked. No one's shocked here.
I don't say it because
you don't have to say it.
I just genuinely think, proportionally, you're one of the most beautiful creations on this planet, and I just want you to know it in the moment.
I know. That's and really I know nice. You say it as like a defending the like other side of
Shop
like, them. I know they're annoying, however.
Yeah.
We always appreciate the positive spin, but
and I felt proportionate too. Like like what you're saying, right? Like even I can emphasize with what you're saying too. It's like even my surgeon wanted me to just go down one size. And I was like, fuck no. If I'm going under all of this shit, you're chopping that shit off, because
If I'm gonna do the thing,
if
we're
I'm doing
the
it,
thing.
put me flat chested. And also too, like, no, literally when I got out, because when you get out of surgery, when you get out of surgery, your cells are in so much trauma that they can't even start swelling, because like everyone's just like, what the fuck is going on? So when I got home and took off my bandages and I was like bored, I literally sent them to my ex because he was like so obsessed with my big tits, and I was like, don't want me back now, do you? And he was like, what the fuck? And he was like, what the fuck? Like, you literally look like a 12-year-old boy. I'm like, I'm so happy. Mind you, they like, once they start swelling, like they do get bigger, and they can also grow again, like with hormone issues. And like, if you gain weight, like there is a chance that they can grow bigger. But yeah, the proportionate thing too, like my what's this called, surgeon was like, you are very proportionate. And I think that's why also too, people, when I shared my story, the first thing, and I love everyone, but everyone was like, girl, you literally have like the tits that everyone wants. And I'm like, it was just a really great lesson to remind myself too that I deserve to do what I need to with my body, regardless of what people might think or say about it. And it's the same with your sex life, and it's the same with everything.
Yeah, I think it's a big piece of like taking the effort to do it or to try to solve it yourself first. Like you said, like people just jump to like, oh, I'll take Ozempic, I'll do this, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Like, no, we can like put in the effort, do the things, go for a walk, eat some fucking vegetables.
Yeah.
And then if
that part
doesn't work,
a veggie.
maybe we'll try the other things.
Yeah. And I will say too, like one of the best lessons I learned in this was that one, my body is actually capable. So it healed a lot of fucking childhood medical trauma shit, because I was like, damn, not only can I lose weight, because there's like a huge stereotype that diabetics can't. So I proved myself there, which caused so much confidence. Like I literally was like, okay, so I actually can lose weight. It allowed me to slow down, because I am very much into instant gratification, and the world is like, let's just be honest. So to be able to say it took me 2 years, like I worked for 2 years before I got it, is huge. And it also, just like you said, like it like really helped me be like, I can like trust myself, and I can go after goals, and I can set small goals, and I can do it out of a place of love and not self-hate. And I think that was also a huge lesson too, that like you can accomplish things without the need of shaming yourself, hating yourself, putting yourself down. Like I did this out of a place of like, I love myself and I deserve this. And yeah, like I ended up losing 45 pounds before I went under. Like you said, vegetables, didn't know what they were. Now I'm like, okay, a veggie once a day. Like, but to me, that was like good. Like that was like an improvement. I fucking hate veggies. I'm just like a protein bitch through and through. But yeah, like doing and allowing yourself to like set really big goals and to try to do it yourself first is so much more rewarding than just going in. Like I can 100% see why people get addicted to things like body, like what's this called when you change it? Body modifications. Thank you, Jill. Yeah, like I can see why people do it, because yeah, I went under at 7:45, and by 11:45 I didn't have tits. So like imagine that with like your body image, or like with lipo, or with the BBL. But to know that like I worked for 2 years to first lose the weight, to go to all the doctors, my diabetes has never been better. Like I worked my ass off on emotional, physical, everything, was really rewarding. And that's like why I think I'm so proud and so confident in the result, is because I knew that I did it the right way, and the way that felt really good for me. And that will always give you the confidence, whether it's weight loss, whether it's how you have sex, whether it's how you date. Like when you do it for you, and when you do it in a way that feels authentic to you, like you can't lose. Even if you lose, like I said, even if I woke up and my tits were still there because they went in and like they couldn't remove them, I would have still been like, I'm still proud. I still fucking did the shit that I didn't think I could do. And that's my story about my tits.
What?
I just keep thinking you're going to say something.
No, I'm listening.
Okay. Questions, comments, concerns?
No, I just sharing a wild story, experience, and journey to navigate all at one time, but also super neat that the opportunity to get it done came and fell.
Yeah.
Not fell through, but like went through for you, like the things that had to fall into place. There we go. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
To still come, like it was there, and it still almost was out of reach.
Well, and the thing is, yeah, the thing was too, is like, I wasn't talking to my parents when this all happened. Like the reason why my parents and I started having to talk again without screaming at each other was because I found this lump and I was like, hey, I know you absolutely fucking hate me right now, and you've told me to change my name so I don't use the family name to embarrass you all, and we can't be in the same room as each other, but like I might have cancer. So then all of a sudden it was like, then I had to fucking talk to my parents about like being a sex coach and like the mistakes that I had made and like the choices that I had made that I wasn't really honestly not gonna like fucking sugarcoat it. Ethan, also thanks for inspiring me for just speaking my truth. Like sex work fucking destroyed me. And for some people it doesn't, but for me, like it destroyed my family, like not just my parents and I, like it destroyed like my brother, it destroyed my grandparents, it destroyed my friendships. Like doing sex work and choosing that just because I was trying to rebel and make a point against my parents and whatever, like that shit fucking destroyed me. So I had to like work on that with them. I had to be honest with how I was feeling with them. I had to like be honest with myself and be like, yeah, like this choice that I made, even though it was empowering, like it fucking destroyed me. It destroyed my relationship to sex, to relationships, to men, to all of these things. And that was just the emotional side to even be able to start talking to my parents, let alone moving in with them, saving money, closing down my business so that I could focus. Like the privileges were insane and the work to get, like I had to, like it's a lot, and people don't understand like how much can actually go into some of these things that we see online. Maybe that's like painted as like, oh, like Erika got her tits done. It's like Erika went to therapy for 2 years straight to be able to tell her parents that she was sad without crying and having a panic attack.
Yeah, I also
That's
think it
crazy.
speaks to like what you said about doing it for you is also a big piece of like making decisions and setting boundaries, and like a big check-in I've had to do with myself with setting boundaries with my family is like being confident that I'm doing it for me, not for anybody else, because the only time you're going to regret it is when you're like, oh, I actually like did that thing because I was mad, or I did that thing because somebody told me I should. And like a big piece of setting boundaries and making those big life decisions is like, yeah, make sure you're doing it for you so that you can look back and be like, I probably would have made a different decision now, but like in the moment, that's still what was best for me.
Yeah, yeah. Do you guys, question for you both, kind of turn the table. Do people ask you a lot, like if you have regrets about being poly, or like do people ask you like questions kind of like almost like make you feel like you can't trust your decision to like live the lifestyle that you do?
You want to take that answer first?
I've had a couple, but I also like, see ya. I've had friends that I've come to them with like, hey, here's a thing I'm dealing with right now. Like, no different than if you were monogamous. Like, monogamous people
Yeah,
still get in
fucking
arguments, still have
yeah.
issues, still have things come up. And similar that you would talk about that, like, came to a friend one time with like, hey, here's a thing that like I feel comfortable telling you that like I'm working through right now in our life. And he met me with like, oh, I just don't think you should be poly. Like, it just doesn't sound like that's the right life for you. And I was like, right, I'm gonna go this way then, and you can stay over
Yeah,
there, because like fuck, if you came to me with a struggle with a partner, I'd be like, oh well, maybe you just shouldn't be monogamous.
yeah,
Like, never in my life would I turn to blaming that on the dynamic and
On the way
structure.
you choose to be loved. No.
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's just break it down for the fucking window lickers in the back. That's boiling it down to the way that you choose to be loved. It's not that like fuck off. Monogamy, polyamory is how you choose to show
yeah,
and accept love. Your narrow mindset in monogamy makes you think that other people are incapable of loving multiple, but if you have friends and fucking multiple family members, and what the fuck is wrong with you people? Get it through your
yeah,
fucking head.
I think it's just like,
Fuck off.
nobody would ever blame that on monogamy when you're in a fight with your boyfriend or
oh
girlfriend,
no,
whatever. So
never.
it's just because like we do it differently. People are very quick to be like, oh, it's because
It's
you're
easy to
poly. And
be
I'm like,
like,
or
oh,
it's because we're human beings that butt heads sometimes, and like you butt heads with your people all the time. So like, yeah, I would say it just gets blamed on the lifestyle a lot of like, oh, it's because you're poly. And I'm like, or it's because I'm in a fucking relationship, but like, whatever, that's
yeah,
fine.
but like that's fine. Yeah, yeah. What about you, Ethan? Do you find people?
People what? Sorry?
Do people
I was still
like
mad.
make you? Yeah, yeah. Have you had situations like where people have made you like second guess yourself, or like is that kind of just something that you don't do anymore because you've done so much therapy
No,
and work on
actually,
yourself?
the only thing that's ever made me second guess myself was unlearning my faith.
Mm,
Things in my faith from when I was religious.
Yeah.
Were indoctrinated into me. So some of the beliefs, like I would catch myself when stuff would get hard, being like, oh, like this was easier monogamous. This was easier as a Christian. This was
Was
no,
it?
it wasn't.
Was
You
it?
fuck off.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. You haven't been understood by a single fucking person that walked into your life and said, I can help you, except for what they meant was I can fix it, which you fucking couldn't. I'm here with people that know that it's on me and they hold space for me to do it. Like, but no. The only thing that's ever made me second guess myself is myself. It's never because I don't keep people like that around me. Fuck you. Like
Yeah, that's
people that
awesome.
were around me when I made the shift are gone.
Yeah.
And like out of some spite, but I love you from over there. You can hate me, you can do whatever the fuck, you can judge me. But the problem with all of that shit is that they're actually mad at me because I showed them that there was another way.
They hate it.
Now they have a fucking problem with the knowledge that is fucking readily available everywhere. I'm sorry that you looked up from your fucking book written 45,000 years ago by 7 dudes named Keith and a guy named Kyle. Like I miss my you motherfuckers. You looked up and saw and now you want to look back, but you can't because you keep looking over the book going, what's on the other side of it? Fuck you.
I also think that's like
sorry, I'm not done. No, I'm done. I'm good.
A big piece of it is like it's easy even for ourselves to also blame it on like doing something different in air quotes, and like it is easy to revert back to like monogamy was what we knew for 25 years of my life.
31.
So it's easy to be like, oh no, maybe it was easier over there. And it's like, no, how many people do you date monogamously that you're like, fuck
how
that
many
guy?
times did you feel horrible about yourself because somebody couldn't see your trauma, man? How many couldn't see little Ethan just begging to be loved in a way that you're gonna have to get through some defenses because everybody else has done the thing that you're currently doing.
Yeah.
Like, what do you like? No, it wasn't easier.
Would you say you've both been?
We have to talk.
Would you say both of your confidence has increased since living more? Or maybe, sorry, Ethan. This might be more so maybe directed towards Jill, just because it's more recent. But Jill, would you say that your confidence has increased since you started living a little bit more authentically? And I ask this as someone who's watched you go through the journey, and not just someone that's like landed here at the quote unquote end result. Do you feel like that your confidence has increased the more that you've stepped into your authentic self?
Yeah, I think it's been more so like the more I've been willing to share, which was a debate for me the whole time of like, do I want to share this piece? And it took me a minute to like, of course, like settle here first and be like, okay, no, this is a thing that is right for me. This is a thing that makes sense before I told the whole world it was a thing that I was doing. But it's even as simple as like when I walk down the stairs and Ethan's like, you look gay.
Yes,
like,
exactly. Literally like, the best compliment when you're like, thank God. Okay. Like I've removed myself. Yeah.
And even like saw my family on the weekend and my cousin was like, you're looking a little tonight. And I was like,
thank you. You're like, I couldn't have asked for a better compliment. Yeah.
Where like 2 years ago, I like got rid of all my trucker hats because I was like, oh, these make me look like a lesbian. And now I'm like, buy me a trucker hat. It makes me look gay. So
I put one of mine on her head early on and she was like, oh, dumbass.
Yeah, I look good.
Like, yeah, little pieces of that, and like
it's the little the hat, the straight hat with the little.
And I pull out my pieces.
That's how I also know that I'm not straight because like the gayer she looks, the more I'm like,
yeah,
look like a boy, like a little bit more boy for me, please, just like a little bit.
I love it.
Like, fuck.
Yeah, and I think it's also like the confidence that comes with like, oh, I can share these pieces of my life, and like, sure, there's going to be people that go, especially when you have a social media following. Like, yeah, people are going to leave. That's fine. But like,
you're going to attract the better ones.
It's also like my clients have started telling me more about their lives. My clients have started sharing like more of their personal things. There was one week where I got in like 2 client calls back to back, and one was like, yeah, I'm getting divorced, and the next one was like, yeah, I'm separating my husband. And I was like, okay, like go off, do your thing, love this.
And those things really do affect like their relationship to health as well, and the way that they can show up. So I'm sure like even as a business standpoint, your business has probably, or your client experience has probably improved because they feel like they can bring up these like
dedication, passion, drive. They're like, oh, like for me, it's what happened when it was for me. When I've been in the gym for fucking 20 years. Like, what do you mean I've been this big my whole life? And then when I realized that I've been living for literally everybody else, including my daughter. living and doing for everybody else.
Yeah.
When I got selfish and it was for Ethan,
Yeah.
that was that moment. That was that thing. I was like, oh, no matter, oh, fuck all y'all. Oh, I'm about to do a thing. Watch this. And that was what it was for me. That moment of, I got to do this for me and I have space to do it now.
Yeah, and it
Everybody
passes off
else
to so
go.
many other people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just being able to show up in your space of being like, this is how I am. You can like it, you cannot like it. Unfollow button right there. Go ahead, do your thing. You don't have to work with me as a coach if you think that impacts my knowledge on health and fitness. That's fine. Do your thing.
If anything, you know more because you're like, you know what I mean? Like you have so many more things. Yeah,
and you had to do. It's not just a book knowledge. You had to do the thing. Like book knowledge.
I
only
learned
got so far in mine.
Yeah, I learned way more about the human body when I started fucking more because I was like, oh, I have to know like how cells work. I have to know how like my period. Like I didn't know anything about my period when I was in my 6-year relationship. The second I got out, I was like, sorry, there's different parts of my cycle. Sorry, I can only get pregnant 5 days out of the month. Like it changed everything for me because I was like, oh, I got to learn when to not get fucking knocked up by these losers. Like it's a lot. Yeah. So I even feel like even like as a business, like, you know what I mean? It's like, it just helps so much. Can I ask both of you where you're at right now with your dating lives, individually, as a team, as anything, if you're comfortable talking about it?
Yeah, I am still in search of connections for me. I've told Ethan this many times. Like, I think dating somebody with him was fun, but I think that will always be something that has to just happen. It feels icky to go and look for that. Like it feels gross to be like, hey, I'm looking for most likely a female or femme presenting to date both of us. That feels like kind of gross to be like,
it's what we call for
unicorn hunting.
Unicorn hunting.
Yeah.
It's this listen, if you are one and you do the thing, fucking cool, do your thing. From where we stand as polyamorous people first, before we enter that realm, is we don't hunt for you. We want relation with our people. We don't want to search for a fetish. We're not searching for an experience that way. We want to grow and share in life with people that then get to create experiences and sharing experiences with us.
But even if it's not us looking for somebody to fuck, it's still looking for somebody to like love and date. It's still like it's weird in my system to have this like expectation to like both of us. So I think that's always going to be something that just has to
naturally
happen.
Like if someone came into Jill's life and all of a sudden 6 months in, they were like, oh, wait, hey,
I want to ride too.
It's neat here. And he's not the worst, you know. You make it look fun when you're hung from the ceiling, and I'm just saying.
And like the last time it happened, like very naturally too, of just like wasn't planned the way it went. Cool, worked. So like it makes the most sense to look for people for me, and like I'm not gonna lie to you. Dating girls isn't that fun. I'm like, we're all the fucking worst. None of you know how to hold a conversation or make a plan or say what you mean or be truthful with your
intent. That face off your face, Ethan.
It is the motherfucking worst, yo. When all you see is, I like communication. I want a guy that talks. I want this.
Do. I'm gonna get offensive.
Do you?
I'm gonna get defensive here.
Do you?
Hey, I'm
gonna get defensive. Yeah.
She's doing a hair thing.
I'm like,
I'm talking about my dating experience.
Sorry, we're about to scrap.
You can talk about yours.
I want to fight Erika.
Fine. And I tell like Brian and Ethan all the time, like I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like we're the worst. And it's also just like the lack of transparency of people that walk into our life is getting real annoying to me. And like even my best friend said, she's like, can you catch a fucking break with girls for a second, please? Because there's girls that walk in being like, no, I'm going to date Jill. And then they see Ethan, they're like, I'm going to like Ethan more. And I'm like,
oh, that's hard.
Bye. So like that has been
that's hard.
lot of my dating experiences. Like, no, I'm only interested in girls.
Yeah.
They walk into our house and then they're like, pivot that way. And I'm like, cool, now you're kicked out the club altogether. You're not dating either of us.
And for the record, if you're listening, that's an across the board fucking, I'm gonna look into the camera, get up, because I'm gonna just say it. Because like, you can't. Don't do that shit. It doesn't work. You motherfuckers, you want access to me, you actually have to be honest and upfront about it. If you try to fucking do that shit, you're gonna get kicked hard and far. Fuck off from that garbage ass way of trying to do this life.
Yeah.
Be real. Be honest. It's a lot easier.
So
but I appreciate you sharing that because I think that's like such a Like that's a really vulnerable share to be like, yeah, like someone comes into my life thinking, you know what I mean? And then like how you navigate that also as a partner too, to be like, because there's one thing where it's like, okay, like I'm gonna talk to this in a cis straight situation. Me and my friends like have been out at bars and like a man's come up and it's been like the one was like hoping that he was coming up to her, but it was like coming up to me or like vice versa. And then like navigating that in a friendship is really hard too, to like not, feel the jealousy or like to feel like the frustration, but to like have that also then in like a romantic dynamic that is already so strong. I'm sure like Ethan is an amazing partner in the sense like he just said like I will not fucking like that doesn't work with me, but it's still very a real like experience that you probably like have to navigate through, and just because your partner like doesn't go through with it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. So I appreciate you sharing that because that's like a really vulnerable share.
Yeah, it's just like a weird, and we've talked about this many times on the podcast. Like, I'll never get it in this life because, like, you literally can do whatever you want in this life, but like, you gotta be honest about what you're up to,
Yeah.
or else you don't get to do any of it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I am excited to find connections for me. It's been a little bit like I've said this too. Ethan has a little bit of a wider net. I'm a little more picky,
That's
in the
okay.
sense of like I'm not interested in dating men. I'm only like interested in dating like females or femme presenting. So it's just a little bit more
Yeah.
weeding through on my end, but we'll figure it out
But that's
eventually.
good though that you also know, because I think like when you don't know what you're looking for is like when you typically make decisions like rooted out of trying to fill a void or like trying to like build an ego, which I've done. Like I'm not saying that I'm perfect myself, but like yeah, like when you know what you want, like you also just protect your heart that much more because you don't spend that time and energy trying to build something with someone that
Yeah.
authentically doesn't actually like align with you. So I'm really proud of you for like doing it hard but like still doing it regardless.
A man shows up on my apps and I'm literally like, ah, how did you get here?
Yeah,
So,
you're like, how did you creep into the fucking earth? Yeah, and they look like a
yeah.
thumb, and they're like, I don't want no fucking fat bitches, and you gotta fucking be fit, and you're just like, yeah,
Basically, pretty much.
like
And you're like,
yeah,
this is my best option. I'm good. This is
yeah,
fine. I'm
yeah,
good.
literally, yeah,
Yeah. What's
yeah.
your
Ethan, what about for
dating
you?
update?
What's the question, sir?
Where you
What's
at in
dating at
dating?
right now for you?
Dating right now is dating. Dating for me looks a little bit different. Like I look for connections with people,
Hmm.
um, all the time. What they look like, I have no expectations of. It's not that I'm actively looking to date. I just enjoy people for how much I don't like people. Like people remind me all the time on these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I don't like them. But ever so often, like the opportunity to meet someone really cool comes up, and even if it's just one coffee, like I get to meet another human, and
Yeah,
our reach gets a little bit further. And I love getting to do life that way, and to have
restraints.
no fear of having someone walk in and fuck something up for me because I have no expectations of them, so I don't
Mm,
give a shit what they are of me. They're not gonna last.
cool.
I have a few partners right now that I see regularly and often. A newer partner, but someone that's
Is that the one we were
yeah,
talking about
just a
on our
lot of
first
fun.
on our first recording? You were talking about your joy being that you had built a new connection that wasn't
Yeah, I think so. That
necessarily
would
going
have
to
been
be.
like right at the beginning. Yeah,
Yeah, you had done like
yeah,
3 dates where it was like you guys had
yeah.
expected to talk for an like a DNS connection, but then it ended up
Hmm.
not being about that for like the first 5 dates
Yeah.
or so. Yeah, cool,
So
cool,
yeah. So now, yeah, now that's progressed to a really beautiful connection. Yeah, it's a lot of fun
cool.
on here right now. I feel in my system that I'm good, like for like full on relational partners. Like it's not that it's too much to juggle, but I just have stuff to do, and I don't
Yeah.
want. I'm good,
Hmm.
is how I'll say that. Like, it's not that I don't have desires and stuff. Like Jill feels a lot of them, but it's fun to share and experience life with other people. This is why I get to do this. I love Emily. Um, and getting to see and share a completely different set of experiences with Emily in this space with other people is really cool. So yeah,
Cool.
I'm just good. I'm content and I'm happy. I am well taken care of in every aspect that way. Um, yeah, it's a beautiful life that we get to build and do and share, and it's cool to see Jill get to connect in ways with people that I haven't got to see yet with her,
Mm.
especially in someone new. That's a lot of fun. Also, like high energy, which makes it fun for me. I get a new plaything.
Yeah.
I will wrap the pod on this. What is your intent with being celibate till 2026.
Yeah.
What is the hopes? What is the intent? What is the
Yeah.
goal?
So when I turned 30, all my friends were like, "Oh my god, you turned 30." And I was like, "Not good enough. I want to be 33." And everyone was like, "The fuck?" And I'm like, being 30, like you're it's like being 20. Like I feel like I'm like back at the beginning. Whereas like 33, one, I see the number 33 everywhere. So I'm like, that's going to be my year. But also too, like there's just something so sexy about aging. And I just feel like at 33, you're like kind of like starting to find your footing in your next decade. I also really loved my like 23rd, 24th year in my 20s because it was like I was picking up momentum. I was like really figuring things out for what like that decade was going to look like. So I'm like really excited about that. And then, yeah, when I started dating the guy in the summer that I was dating, I really fucking liked him. Side note, I've also realized he's the only person I've ever liked that I've dated. So that was also like in therapy last week being like, I've only like
shit.
one out of the 50 people I've dated. Like, interesting. Yeah, like I really, really liked him. And so in the summer, I was like setting my goals for the new year, for the end of the year. And it was like that I was either going to end the year in love or celibate. And I said that because I keep, kept dating people that like were like 70% what I needed, or like 90%, or just like, or it was just honestly really fucking difficult, like living in fucking Paris. And then they traveled like as like an international fucking green energy investor. And half the time they were in Iraq and then they were in Venezuela. Like it just was like, I was setting myself up for like, just kind of like disappointment and frustration. And so I really liked this person. And I was like, hey, like this is either going to end in love. Like I'm going to be like in love in the next 6 months, and like thinking about like what the next steps are in terms of like, are we going to move in together like in the next year or so? Or I'm just going to be celibate and I'm just going to like just give myself the break, because I do desire a partner or partners, whatever. To be honest, at this point, I don't even know, because I'm not even thinking about what my actual needs are. Like I'm so focused on me. But yeah, I do desire like partnership. And I was like, I just keep making the wrong decisions. And they're not bad decisions, they're just not the right ones. And so as a joke, I said to my girlfriend when this guy and I broke up, I was like, I'm saying celibate, like I'm going celibate till I don't know when. And then I made a joke saying that it was going to be till I was 33. And then she's a sex educator as well. She's very in tune with herself. And she's one of my best friends. And she's like, okay, Erika, like you keep joking about like what you want to be when you're 33, like in relations to like how long your hair is going to be and like where your career is going to be at. And she's like, why don't you do it? Like you keep saying, I can't wait to be 33 because like I can see where I'm going to be. And she's like, just do it. Like set yourself up for that. Like stop half-assing your shit. And I took it to heart. I very much was like, yeah, you're 100% right. So yeah, the reason is that when I'm 33, I plan to have long ass hair, like mermaid hair. And my hair has been like chopped to my like chin for the last 5 years. So yeah, I want my hair long. I want to be so fit, not necessarily skinny, but I want to be fit. I want to like be like, I want to run. Like I want to be like, yeah, I can run 10K. Like, whereas I haven't been able to because of my boobs. Like I'm like, I want to be running. I want to be like doing stuff with my career. I want my podcast back up and at it. I want to feel like I know exactly how I want to feel. And to be transparent, like I have let men completely center my life. And I need to, yeah, I really like just needed to learn how to like actually decenter them, because it's one thing to be like, I don't give a fuck about men. I was still walking in rooms looking for like the hottest person, or like I was still like literally trying to be like impressive to people. And like I am queer, like I have dated like, but I just have such a hard time too like connecting with women or femme presenting folks. And I was like, I deserve to put energy when I start dating again into them just as much as energy as I've put since I was 12 into impressing men and impressing cis men. So it's really like I'm using it as a reset. And I'm also the biggest fan of my birthday. Like I literally woke up this morning to 2 texts from friends, one of them being like, hey, by the way, your birthday present isn't going to come till May. And I'm like, okay, weird, but like, why are we talking about that now? And then literally 20 minutes later, my other friend being like, it's 1 month to the national like day of Erika. Like I love my birthday. My friends know that. And so the thought of like being celibate and just allowing myself to have like 19 months to just really reset and allow myself to like give to me what I've given to everyone else just felt so fucking like literally cute. And like there's no other way to word it. Like it just sounded cute. I'm like, I just want to, it just sounds cute to be like, okay, I'm gonna give myself like 19 months and just be the 33-year-old that I can see for myself.
That's
Sick.
exciting. Where
Yeah.
can people follow along with your journey and keep
Right
up to
now,
date with
before
your adventures?
I'm not gonna jinx getting banned anytime soon. But right now, you can find me on Erika Eileen with 2 underscores on Instagram. All of my links to everything else is there. I'm also Life with Erika Eileen on TikTok, but I don't post as much there. But yeah, Instagram's the best place to find me. I'm always dancing in my stories or talking shit about capitalism and how unfair the world is, or just sharing the dumbest shit ever, which is also like super important for our self-love and our
I died
self-enjoyment.
when you ended up in the
Don't,
wrong car
because
this
I have to
morning.
tell
So
you, yeah, okay, I'll tell the audience last story. I ended up in the
Right,
wrong car.
I gotta go, guys. You can find
Bye,
me. You can find me
Ethan.
on this.
Yeah,
I
you
love you
know what?
guys.
Fuck
Bye.
it. They can come and find me on Instagram and see funny stories for themselves. I
yeah,
gotta keep seductive. That's what we'll do.
yeah.
I'm not gonna tell you all
Make
the
him a
story.
reason.
Yeah, give you a
Give
reason
him
to
a
come.
reason.
Yeah, exactly. Give
yeah.
them something to come to.
Uh, yeah. Thank you so much for hanging out with us again, and it's always a pleasure.
Thank you for
You can
having
find
me.
me at CoachJill.April, and you can find the podcast at Shifting the Lens Podcast, and I will link Erika down below, so you have no excuse to not go listen to her stories.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks for having me.
Anytime. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.